Good to go. All right, guys. I think the microphone obviously works. We'll go ahead and get started here. All right. Good morning. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out and attending our 23rd annual Operation Reach Out ceremony. This is to honor crime victims and those who serve them. In the beginning, I would like for everybody to please stand for the posting of the colors by the West Virginia State Police Honor Guard, and to continue standing for the singing of our national anthem by Reagan Cool, a student at Winfield Elementary School.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we held at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Thank you, Reagan, for that wonderful rendition, and you're very brave. That is, I don't mind talking in public. There's no way I'm ever singing in public. All right, as we start the ceremony, there's some people I would like to acknowledge first. And the first people I want to acknowledge is the reason we're here, and that's the victims, survivors, and their families in attendance. I'm not going to ask anyone to stand, but I'm going to ask everyone to think about them as I read descriptions. First of all, we have families of overdose victims here. We have survivors of sexual violence here. We have families of loved ones who've been murdered here. We have survivors of human trafficking here. And we have other crime victims here. That's the reason we're here today. We're going to give out some awards, but the reason we're here today is to honor victims, and their survivors, and their families. One thing I've always strived in my career, I hope I at least is somewhat successful in this, is to show empathy toward victims and their families. One thing I've always, back in my prior role as a judge and my new role as a lawyer, one thing and sort of as a mentor to other lawyers, one thing I've always strived to encourage lawyers to think about is what for a judge or a lawyer might be seen as a Thursday afternoon docket. To that victim, it's going to be their one or two times in court in their lifetime for them to seek some type of justice for their loss. So while it might be a Thursday afternoon sentencing for a judge or a lawyer, For the victim, it's pretty significant. It's, you know, that's their only time they're going to get a chance to let the court know, participate in the process, and let the court know about the loss. So I've strived to do that in my career. I've strived to encourage the lawyers who work for me to do that, and the lawyers who used to practice in front of me to do that, for them to be aware of that, even though it's a job for us, but for the victims, those are real people, and we need to be aware of that. We do have some dignitaries here, and I'd like to recognize them. When I was first sworn in as judge, then Governor Joe Manchin nominated me, and there was 5 of us circuit judges that started within about 2 months of one another. We, at the time, had a ceremonial swearing in front of the Supreme Court, and Governor Manchin came to the chambers of the Supreme Court. And there was some discussion at the time, and it was the first time a governor had appeared in the chambers of the Supreme Court in like 50 years. I'm honored today because I'm very pleased to have in attendance today here the current West Virginia Supreme Court, and here in this building, which I think is a wonderful, I mean, we're going to recognize them for their work here in a moment, but I think the fact that they're here today and are willing to come to this ceremony honoring victims' rights, I think it's a great thing, and I'm glad they could be here. So I'd like to introduce, I'm going to read their names. Chief Justice Tim Armstead, Justice Haley Bunn, Justice William Wooten, Justice John Hutchinson, and Justice Elizabeth Walker. Thank you all for being here. We do have some other dignitaries I'd like to recognize. We have a resident agent in charge for Homeland Security Investigations, Pat Kelly's in attendance. We also have a supervisory special agent for the FBI for the Charleston office, Tony Rouza, is in attendance. We have Janet Kawash, the director of the West Virginia Crime Victim Compensation Fund, and Kanawha County Sheriff Mike Rutherford and his chief deputy, Jody Crawford. I would now like, and this is probably the most important part of this ceremony, for everyone to join me in a moment of silence, honoring all victims whose lives have been forever changed due to either horrific violence, drugs, and remember those who are no longer with us because of the violent acts of criminals. Thank you. All right, I want to explain some things about this while we're here. You might have noticed as we came here, you noticed a tree out in the hallway. That is a tree of remembrance, and you had an opportunity as you came in, and there'll be another opportunity as once the ceremony is over for you to sign and place cards on the tree of remembrance to honor and remember victims. And I would encourage you to do that. There are 2 types of cards out there. They are a We Remember, and then there's a I Am a Survivor card. As you look at the tree, though, we don't just see pieces of paper. The toughest part of my job and my career over the last, I'm getting kind of old, it's like 27 years now. The toughest part is some of the photographs, videos, things of that nature I've had to watch. And some of those, I don't have to carry them around in my wallet or anything of that nature. They're forever burned in my brain. I know there's pictures of murders. There's pictures of children being raped. I remember when my youngest daughter was about 6 months old, I was dealing with, my oldest daughter actually, excuse me, I was dealing with a baby that died with shaken baby syndrome. Yeah, I still can't get the autopsy pictures out of my mind. They're tough. And a lot of people here have those same, not necessarily the same images, but the same type of images. So I want whenever you to walk by that tree to think of that. As I was driving home yesterday, I passed a couple small crosses on the roadway home. And we've all seen those. And we go by and we think they're crosses. I know the story behind these particular crosses, and it's where a 1-year-old and a 5-year-old burned to death in a DUI crash. So I want people to remember victims. When we see that tree, we see the families that's been devastated. We see the lives that's been lost. We see the trauma and the lifelong journey of dealing with the tremendous grief and loss. We also get to see the strength and tenacity of survivors and families who speak loudly for justice and who I respect for them speaking loudly for justice, and who are working to make our communities safer and our system better. We see you, we hear you, and we are here for you. You inspire all of us as we work together to seek justice and healing for all crime victims. Next week, April 21st through 27th, is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. Back in my younger years, we used to have a basketball game to honor crime victims. I don't know if my knees can handle that anymore. I'd probably try, but probably not end well. But it's been something we've long recognized. Each year, this office recognizes victim advocates, survivors, and others who go above and beyond to serve crime victims and who demonstrate excellence in victim advocacy and justice. This ceremony is going to look a little bit different this year, with the exception of one recipient, because the case is still ongoing and I can't have you making public comments about the case. I'm going to ask each of the recipients to have a representative for the award to come up and speak a little bit about their program and how it supports crime victims in communities across West Virginia. At the very end, because I want the program to move kind of quickly because I know people have busy schedules, but at the very end, I'm going to ask for each of the award recipients to come up here so we can get a couple group photos. I'm going to present the awards as we go through, but I'm going to do the photos at the end. I would like to thank our photographer today, FBI Victim Specialist Shannon Hinman. All right, let's get to the presentations. The first one, as I said before, I'm very honored to have the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals here. Our first award recognizes an innovative project developed by the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals. As everybody knows, I'm a proud, lifelong native of Boone County. Love West Virginia. I think we counted up, I'm a 9th generation West Virginian, and there's not a lot of people who can say that. Truly love and respect the people in our state and look to help the people in our state remain strong and courageous and thrive in the face of adversity, which we're seeing a lot of. I think the Supreme Court's been determined to create a better life for the people in West Virginia and for our families, friends, and neighbors across West Virginia. One of the biggest issues we face, and this is something I've been dealing with in my career since I was a young lawyer in Boone County, that's domestic violence. Too many homes in West Virginia experience domestic violence. Approximately 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience domestic violence in their lifetime. Domestic violence abusers with access to a gun are 5 times more likely to kill their partners. That is one of the many initiatives I have started since I became U.S. Attorney, and I want to expand upon, is working with prosecuting domestic violence abusers who use firearms. The most recent stats in West Virginia that we could find that people with access to a gun are 5 times more likely to kill their partners. In the most recent stats in West Virginia, 14 of the 19 domestic violence homicides were committed with a firearm. We are extremely fortunate in this state to have our highest state court on the forefront of this problem. The West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals Remote Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault Outreach Program was developed in order to allow survivors of domestic and sexual violence to virtually access courts from outreach centers. I've dealt with this for many years. There would be a hearing and the victim didn't want to come. And not because she didn't want to participate or he didn't want to participate. It crosses both lines there. It's because they were afraid of their abuser and what would happen. So I think this project's been very instrumental. This project provides a safe and secure environment for survivors while also increasing the opportunities for improved advocacy and limiting the intimidation that the survivor faces. I'm proud to recognize the West Virginia Supreme Court of Appeals Victim and Outreach Project with the award for excellence in victim advocacy and justice. Accepting on behalf of the court is Chief Justice Tim Armstead.
Well, thank you so much. On behalf of my colleagues, all of whom are here with me today, we're very honored to participate in this ceremony and to receive this. It's always been, and I think I speak for all five of us to say that one of the things that's very important to us is to make sure that our court system is not only efficient but accessible to our citizens. And when we went through the challenges of COVID, with all the challenges we had to face, we also learned a lot from that, and we were able to use some of the technology that we developed through that as we went forward from that to help make our court system more accessible. And we recognize that that it's our staff, the people that we work with each and every day, that always come up with these innovative solutions to problems. And while we're here to accept this, we accept it on their behalf because they have come forward with these types of initiatives that I think have really made our court system more accessible. And the last thing a person needs if they feel they need to come to our court system for protection is for that system and that process to make it even more intimidating or to make it even a situation that might put them in further danger. And so that's why this program is in particular important, I think, to our court system, because those victims and those people who are alleging abuse have the ability to go to the court system remotely and, as Will said, they not have to worry that they're going to be put in further danger. So I want to particularly recognize Evan Lynch, our grants coordinator, Pat Motes, I don't know if Pat's here, but she's our IT specialist, Nicole Coffer, who is our Director of Magistrate Services, and Lisa Tackett, our Director of Court Service. I know Lisa's here and Evan are here. But we have a great group of people we work with each and every day that are always, like I said, always looking for ways that we can make our court system more accessible and more efficient. And we certainly appreciate their work and their efforts, and certainly we accept this primarily on their behalf. So thank you very much for the opportunity to be here.
Thank you very much, Chief Justice. All right. The next people I'd like to recognize are the people who worked with us on the United States versus Eric Phillips. April is also National Child Abuse Prevention Month, and our next award goes to people who go above and beyond for children every day. This award recognizes an entire team for their outstanding work in the prosecution of one Eric Sean Phillips, a 43-year-old man from Princeton. Phillips was sentenced this past November to 30 years in prison, to be followed by a lifetime of supervised release for enticement of a minor. Over a period of about 6 months, Phillips persuaded, induced, enticed, and coerced a minor female to engage in sexual activity with him. Phillips admitted that his criminal conduct included sending numerous sexually explicit messages to the minor female via text messaging and social media messaging apps. Phillips was also charged in a related case in Mercer County Circuit Court with co-defendant Amber Nicole Phillips, who pled guilty to being a parent, guardian, or custodian in a person of position of trust allowing the sexual abuse of a child. The case was investigated by Lieutenant Summers as part of the FBI's Child Exploitation and Human Trafficking Task Force. And it's also indicative of the outstanding work done by the Mercer County Multidisciplinary Investigative Team, which is charged with bringing justice and healing for the abused children in Mercer County. First person can't be here, in my understanding, today because he wanted his assistant to come, who did a lot of work on this case, but I do want to recognize or acknowledge Mercer County Prosecuting Attorney Brian Cochran, who agreed to stay behind today and do the work in court. The first person on this is Assistant Prosecuting Attorney David Pfeiffer. Next is victim advocate Brittany Long with the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office. Next is Lieutenant S.A. Summer from the Mercer County Sheriff's Department. Michael McGaughan, attorney at law and guardian ad litem in the case. Elizabeth Street of the West Virginia Department of Human Services. And Child Protect of Mercer County. Do we have a representative for them? Yes, we do. Mr. Pfeiffer, I think you're going to give some comments.
I'll be brief.
Said every lawyer.
First, I want to apologize on behalf of my boss, Brian Cochran. He intended to be here, but we had some last-minute docket additions, and he decided to stay behind. So I apologize on his behalf. Most of you in this room probably know attorneys, and we don't shy away from taking credit for literally anything. But in this isn't one of those cases. Because the fact of the matter is, what the prosecutor's office did in this case is a drop in a much, much larger bucket. Lieutenant Summers investigated this case and made sure it was indicted both by the Mercer County Grand Jury and by the U.S. Attorney's Office. Elizabeth Street from Mercer County CPS made sure that child got taken out of the home and was always safe. Child Protect not only provided an expert forensic interview, but they have worked for years with the victim in this case to make sure that she can cope with what happened to her. Brittany Long, victim's advocate from my office, as well as Tracy Chapman from the U.S. Attorney's Office, have worked to bridge the gap between the prosecutor's office and the victim. They're the voice of the victim in our ear. In this case, everything worked the way it should have. But I think what surprises me is with this group of people, it always does. They constantly work tirelessly to benefit victims. They will work late, they will work weekends, they will work when they're supposed to be on vacations, all to benefit victims. I am blessed to have the privilege to work with this great group of people, and I just want to personally say thank you all for everything you do and continue to do.
We'll do a bigger picture later. The next group I'd like to recognize is Mission West Virginia. Mission West Virginia works with our foster kids. And unfortunately, we still have 7,000 kids in foster care. I might have used that number once trying to get a family treatment court started. Mission West Virginia is truly making a difference in daily lives of these children and working hard to find them forever homes. I can't say enough about Mission West Virginia. They have their mission statement is one people, one state, working together to provide every child with a loving family and the knowledge to make positive choices for a healthier future. My office has had the privilege to partner with them for many years, working on outreach projects, awareness. I think we have a program every October to help raise awareness for foster children and families across the Mountain State. They recruit and train foster families. They also provide support and services to relatives and kinship families caring for youth. I'm honored to present the Excellence in Victim Advocacy and Justice Award to Mission West Virginia. Accepting on their behalf is Executive Director Kelly Thompson. She does have a Boone County connection, but no relation. I thought I'd let
When I walked in, they said, you need to lower this when you get up there. I'm deeply humbled to accept this award from such a distinguished group. Over 8 years, we've been able to partner with a lot of you all in the room in unique ways to help children. For 27 years, Mission West Virginia has been dedicated to improving the lives of children in our state. And throughout our work, we have come to understand one incredibly important and undeniable truth, and that is the power of consistency in the lives of children. Simply being present and showing up when we say we're going to show up. And based on that truth, please allow me to provide you with a glimpse behind the scenes at Mission West Virginia over the past month. This is just 1 month alone. This past month, we showed up for 180 families who are beginning their journey by making the most courageous decision of their lives, and that is to foster or adopt. We showed up for children who have waited the longest in the system, deemed the most difficult to adopt, many of whom have been in placements and homes in the double digits, all with the 18th birthday, who stand to risk aging out of the system with no adoptive family. Showing up for them this month means coming with new basketball and Lego set to play. Also showing up with a rainbow unicorn squishmallow. We get them what they want because they're in residential settings, and we feel like personalized visits is incredibly important for those kids. We stood by 65 kinship families this month, individuals who never anticipated that their later years would be spent raising children once again. They have now found themselves presented with that reality all unplanned. One that stands out is an aunt who called us in tears after she herself, pregnant for the first time, has now found herself with 2 preteen kids in her home. We were there not only to listen and support her through the tears, but to guide those next steps to get all the services they need and deserve. We showed up quite literally to Marshall University in 4 buses filled with Kanawha County students who are all in foster care or kinship care, who have hope for their future beyond high school. We have 5 students who've been accepted. We showed up for a student facing juvenile probation and needed extra support, and in turn received an invitation to be part of their graduation walk into the future next month. We stood by our students during loss this month, and there was lots of it. We were there the morning when a student showed up to school in our office only hours after her guardian, her grandma, passed. She was at school that morning because she didn't want to be present when they took her grandmother away. We showed up not only to provide comfort and support to the student, but assist with meals and tangible goods she needs. Another student lost their uncle this month, also their guardian. And our hearts broke as we showed up for a teen girl who has been over the moon excited for reunification with her bio mom. This month, her bio mom passed away. We were there by the side of a child who lost all their possessions in a house fire, including those gifts we purchased them for Christmas they so cherished. And unfortunately, that's not the only house fire among our kids this month. We were there this month during the good times too, like when the ink dried on a home study for a newly certified family, when those F's became C's, when it became clear that our students would indeed graduate on time, when the college and trade school acceptance letters have started to arrive along with tuition. We were there when one of our boys found out they'll be playing college football, to the doting grandparents who are incredibly excited for that. Even through the hard times, we have to keep our focus on just how incredibly brave, wonderful, and capable our kids are. Their resiliency is beyond measure, and the hope that they have for a better future is inspiring. And when given consistency and opportunity, they run with it. Even on those most challenging days, we remain committed to our mission and the firm belief that our work is making a difference. Again, I'm deeply grateful for this honor and recognition of our efforts to walk alongside and show up for those who need us. And always, I extend my heartfelt thanks to our team, to our staff and board and funders and friends. Throughout the years, this quote sits in my office and has been stuck in my mind, and that is, right now you have the power to say, I will not let their story end like this. I think that's a challenge to all of us in this helping profession, to consistently walk alongside those who need us as they rewrite their story. So thank you.
The next group I'd like to recognize is the YWCA of Charleston. I'm going to give a little history. In 1912, 5 women from the Baptist Temple founded the YWCA in Charleston. It was established initially as a secure lodging for young women as they pursued careers. Later on, they opened up the YWCA cafeteria, lobbied in support of legislation for the care of mothers and infants, and offered programs in physical fitness education, sewing, cooking, dressmaking, and religious education. Today, the YWCA of Charleston programs assist more than 5,000 individuals each year. Staff at the YWCA provides crucial services to victims of domestic violence and human trafficking, such as emergency and transitional housing, counseling, and court advocacy. Many federal crime victims regularly utilize their services, which are essential to helping victims to heal and thrive. My office has been extremely fortunate to partner with the YWCA of Charleston on many committees and working groups, including our State Human Trafficking Task Force and our West Virginia Civil Rights Stakeholders Committee. Their leadership and collaboration truly impact the citizens of our community and our district. I'm proud to recognize the YWCA of Charleston. Accepting on their behalf is their Executive Director, Jennifer Goddard.
I really want to make sure that you all know that YWCA Charleston, our mission is eliminating racism, empowering women, and promoting peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. And we live our mission through all of the services we provide in our community. We're the licensed domestic violence service provider for Boone, Clay, and Kanawha counties. And all of our programs that we operate serve people who have been victims of crimes, they're experiencing homelessness, and they are survivors of human trafficking and domestic violence. And so I wanted to make sure that Julie Britton, our director of the YWCA Resolve Family Abuse Program, got a chance to talk about the work, because while we're all one YWCA, the Resolve team is the one that day in, day out supports the survivors and helps people move forward in their lives.
Hi. So I've come today with a pretty large YWCA team. That's just how we roll. We show up. We show up sometimes 18 deep. So at the YWCA, we're pretty lucky to be able to come to work every day and be surrounded by coworkers who are quite literally the best that Kanawha, Boone, and Clay counties have to offer. But then to be here and see that there are other pretty awesome people doing pretty awesome work, that's actually really exciting. And so I hope you're as excited as I am to be surrounded by just some amazing people today. I know we're making a difference and all working on the same page. So I know we don't show up to work with the intention of being recognized, but I do have to admit it feels pretty good. So today's theme is how you can help. And here's how you can do that. The YW superheroes that came here with me have some of our crisis cards with them. So YWCA folks, raise your hands. So look around and find them. And these are the people who show up and show out every day. They answer crisis calls. They work at our shelter, Hope House. They provide counseling. They do trainings in the community and so much more. So after we're done here, find one of them, say hi, introduce yourself, grab a crisis card or 10, keep some and share some. Because unfortunately, you're gonna meet someone who needs to know what we do, and that's how you can help. To be that person to go, hey, they reach out to them, see how they can help. So find one of our folks after we're over here and make sure that you're ready the next time that someone is in crisis and needs what we can do. So thank you all so much.
The next person I'd like to recognize is Special Agent Brian Morris of Homeland Security. He works closely with Mission West Virginia in his role, and also with YWCA as Special Agent. When most people hear human trafficking, they think of women and children being abducted in other countries and scenes from popular movies. That is human trafficking. It does happen. That's not the overwhelming majority of it. A lot of what we see is, and typically 80% of it here in West Virginia, are trafficking victims under the age of 10 that are being trafficked by a family member. This includes parents or other parents, and unfortunately, a lot of this relates to the drug epidemic. They allow sexual offenders to sexually abuse the victim in exchange for money, drugs, or a place to stay. It also involves caregiving, producing pornography of their children and selling and trading or posting contents in exchange for money or other things of value. My office recently prosecuted Kristen Naylor-Legg of Golly Bridge for committing familiar sex trafficking. She was sentenced in August of last year and 9 years in prison for conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking of a minor. On 2 separate occasions, she provided her 17-year-old female relative to Larry Allen Clay Jr. so he could engage in sexual intercourse with the minor. At that time, Mr. Clay was an employee of the Fayette County Sheriff's Department as well as Chief of Police of the Golly Bridge Police Department. Naylor-Legg, she admitted that on the first occasion she was paid $100 by Clay in order to allow her family member to be sexually abused. The next occasion, it was down to $50 for sexual intercourse with the minor, but Mr. Clay didn't pay the money the second time. A federal jury has convicted Mr. Clay for conspiracy to engage in sex trafficking of a minor by coercion, and 2 counts of obstruction of 2 counts of that and 2 counts of obstruction of justice. He is set to be sentenced in June. How we treat victims have a huge impact on their confidence in the criminal justice system and their ability to heal and recover from the crime. I've personally met and talked with this victim several times, and she's doing amazingly well. These cases require a victim-centered trauma and trauma-informed response. They required skilled investigators who understand the vital need to link the victims to crucial services and supports. Special Agent Brian Morris was one of those investigators. He was able to help victims navigate an often unfamiliar system called the justice system by providing them with general information about the process and the victim's role throughout the stages of the criminal justice system. He addresses their safety concerns and ensures victims are aware when defendants are detained or released on bond. Agent Morris thoroughly explains the rights of the victim throughout the investigation. He works with the prosecution team to help ensure the victims are kept apprised of their case status. He went above and beyond the call of duty in pursuit of justice in this case. He's not going to be able to speak because he still has a sentencing that he has participated in, but it's my distinct honor to recognize Special Agent Brian Morris. Couple things as we wrap up. First of all, I'm not going to try to name the people from my office, although Tracy Chapman did a lot of the work. There's been a lot of people from my office who did a lot of the work, and other people from outside my office who's volunteered and worked hard on today's ceremony, and that's the Operation Reach Out Committee. The sponsoring agencies are listed on the program. Before we leave here today, I want you to think again just one more time, because I look out here and I see a lot of people representing different roles. I see people who have been working with victims their professional career. Perhaps more importantly, I see victims and I see survivors. Take a moment, think about them. I think it shows remarkable strength and courage for the surviving families to come out today. And for some, it's been events that's happened within the last year or so. For others, it's been events that's happened 10 years, 15 years ago. So I appreciate the families and the survivors who came out. Once again, I'm going to remind you, if you haven't placed your card on the tree, I would encourage you to do so. I hope that helps you a little bit. And I think it means something. I'm going to ask that all the award recipients, if you could all come up here and do group pictures of each of the award recipients. I think that would be great. I'm going to thank you again for coming today. For those who serve crime victims across West Virginia, I'm going to thank you day in and day out. And for the victims and their families, thanks again for coming. Thank you very much.